This is Beyond the Bench with Nick Morgasen and Nick Fodera. A look at sports and pop culture from beyond common sense. The show that constantly goes off the rails and might never get back on. When you don't belong, you're a bench warmer. On this show, there's no riding the bench. This is Beyond the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network.
Hello, everybody. All right, this is Empty the Bench. It's our first episode in March, so we've got a lot to do. I'm Nick Fodera. That's my venerable co-host, Mr. Nick Morgasen, as always. So, how was your week?
It's been a long week, but before we get to that, make sure you follow us on social media, on Twitter at BeyondTheBench1, and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/BeyondTheBench1. And follow us on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network. Now I can answer that question. Yes, Nick, it's been a week. It's been quite a week.
It has been quite a week. Whether you're worrying about World War III or just dealing with student loans all week, it's crazy.
You know what's crazy? That news did not make it into the episode. That's how crazy some of the stories we have.
It's funny because we don't, well, not funny, but, strange in that we try pretty hard to try to avoid any kind of political podcast because, we're not experts and we're not attempting to preach to anybody.
I'll say it right now. If we start preaching to people, I give the audience the permission to slap us in the face.
Yeah, as hard as you can. And more than once.
And actually, but speaking of preachy, we will have to do one unfortunate political story, which we'll save for the end so that we don't piss people off. But we'll get into it. So the stories we have on tap for you guys today, guys and gals, I should say. Britney Spears posting more naked photos on Instagram. We'll get to that.
A good header.
Wendy Williams for the second straight week in the news. We already know, we talked about this last week, that her show is officially going off the air for Sherry Shepherd. But her ex-husband, Kevin Hunter, is suing the talk show for wrongful termination. So we'll get to that as well. We'll talk about Derek Jeter a little bit and how the four-letter network, and yes, that four-letter network that Nick and I come to despise from time to time, is in talks to maybe bring him on to be an analyst or an analyst, however you want to put it.
It really depends on what kind of job they're asking for.
Also, Kanye West apparently made a proclamation that he's going to bury Pete Davidson alive. Is that a death threat? I don't know. We'll get into that as well. Another talk show. If we thought, Nick, you brought it up last week. We talked about this last week, how Kelly Clarkson's show is really doing well. Well, we're going to get into another singer who is unveiling a talk show in the fall of this year. And when I say who it is, you might not be too surprised because they're competing with Kelly Clarkson. Also, another Wheel of Fortune mishap, which has gone viral. I'm sure you saw this, Nick. And then finally, Ron DeSantis is scolding students. I think it was at the University of Central Florida, where he basically went up to them as he was going to give a speech. Take those masks off. You don't need to wear those masks.
Yep.
So we have a debauchery. We have a debauchery of topics, or potpourri, as people like to use that word.
A bacchanal.
So let's get started. We're going to talk about Britney Spears posting a series of naked beach photos on Instagram. Now, if you need to understand with some context. Nick and I grew up in the 90s. So Britney Spears was one of the biggest entertainment icons that there was, right?
The biggest, I would say. At a certain time and place. I mean, my father always likes to use the term, if he's waxing nostalgic about a band he grew up listening to, it's like, there was a time when they were on top of the world, pronouncing it like John Hammond. It's like that scene in Jurassic Park. But But it's true in Britney's case, where there was a certain time where she was literally on top of the world. Anywhere you turned, there was Britney. There was TRL. There was Britney. There were Pepsi commercials, and it was Britney. You would hear her music on the radio, on commercials, on networks that had nothing to do with it.
I mean,
but yeah, it was true.
I mean, "Hit Me Baby One More Time" was probably the most popular single back in the day.
Yeah, that, and I can remember when what was it? What was that song? Why am I blanking on it?
She also did a song called "Lucky," which was about a dog.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
By the way,
that ended up at the top of TRL charts for something like 20, 30 weeks.
And by the way, that's kind of apropos considering how lucky she is right now.
Yes. So we have spent the last couple of months tracking her, all the stuff with the conservatorship and her subsequent release and her rise from the ashes like the phoenix. So I'm not going to begrudge her doing naked photos.
Well, did you see the photo in the story?
I don't mean to sound like a creepazoid when I say that.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you see the photo where she's laying on the sand right where the waves come up? She's just laying there full out. No problem.
I mean, you used to have to subscribe to Penthouse magazine for that. But like I said, I'm trying. I'm don't want to sound like a creep here.
But wait a minute. You're not a creep because technically this was our generation.
Yeah, but still, that has nothing to do with sounding like a creep or a prude, though.
By the way, she looks good for her age.
Yes, she does. And if there's anything, there's definitely something to be said about that, considering everything she's gone through.
And the weird thing is, the caption is 5 rose emojis.
I mean, I never understood the use of emojis other than the thumbs up thing. But
wait a minute. It says a symbol that fans will know represented freedom.
I still don't get it.
I don't get it either. But what's crazy is this photo has been liked almost 2.9 million times.
Again, but there is still if there's one point that we keep harping on, as we've covered this, through a lot of different shows over the past couple of months that we've done. I mean, it's becoming exceedingly clear that Britney Spears, the world still loves Britney Spears.
No doubt. Stopped. And by the way, I will always defend her because that conservatorship was ridiculous. I mean, in the beginning, she probably needed it, but in the end, like, how long are you going to hold her in contempt?
Yeah,
like,
it's one of those things where you ever have one of those things on Twitter where you're unfollowing, you're not following somebody that you thought you did, and it's like, wait, I know I got mad at this person for a reason and unfollowed them, but I can't remember what it is anymore.
Oh, plenty of people.
She's under the and that I think was a lot of what happened here, where people realized, hey, she's still under the conservatorship. What for? And
but you know what's crazy?
And there was a younger generation starting to get into her music.
But wait a minute. So there's another photo. You know how sometimes women will, if they take a topless photo, like they hold their hands over their chest.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, you know what? Like, I kind of could defend the first one because she's laying down on her stomach. You can't see as much. This one doesn't leave any thought to the imagination. The second photo.
No, it doesn't leave anything to the imagination. But yeah, the fact that we're sitting here talking about it, I mean, it means it worked.
No, but the weird part is, do you remember "It's Britney, Bitch"? That was like. How popular was that?
That was right around the time I started seeing less of her in the ubiquity of pop culture. She stopped being everywhere, or at least the spaces that I would look. Of course,
But something's not adding up to
man
me.
in America, the spaces that I would look wouldn't exactly be everywhere.
I hate to say this, and Britney fans are going to get mad at me, I think, for this, but it's a little bit of porn.
It's Instagram, Nick.
No, but first of all, technically, this is a violation of Instagram rules.
Technically, it is, but who's going to stop her?
Well, because she has 39.6 million followers, and that's getting them
exactly.
Like, if this was some Joe Schmo woman, like, just doing this, they would have kicked her off of Instagram already.
Yes, if it was somebody, just going on Instagram and you could see all the way to Florida, that was not, that wouldn't fly. But
if this was Jane Doe, they would have been kicked off of Instagram. Just saying.
I mean, because God forbid you actually try to get political in your or try to make a statement other than garden variety nudity, they'll kick your ass off, but they wouldn't do it for her.
And that's what makes no sense.
They wouldn't kill the golden goose.
I mean, when you have almost 40 million Instagram followers and they can put ads on everything and make money off her account alone.
Excuse me. That's one thing that I am afraid of. That's going to happen again. Now that she's out of the conservatorship, I'm just afraid of everybody coming out the woodwork saying, I always, with their hands out, say, "Oh, I always loved you, Britney. I always understood it wasn't your fault." That's trying to take advantage of her, because that always happens when people are at their most vulnerable, especially women.
You know what's interesting, though? I'm reading here. It says the global megastar, I don't know if she's still a global megastar. I think that's a little far-fetched. Also opted to share a selection of topless photos taken in the ocean. Again, working some diamond emojis while necessary, as Instagram still hasn't allowed women to hashtag free the nip online.
So, again, she's skirting very, very close to the... She's skirting very, very close to a violation of the terms of usage, but
even if she did it, they're not kicking her off.
No.
She could have showed her lower extremities; they wouldn't kick her off.
Like I said, you could see all the way to Florida, and they wouldn't have done anything.
That's what I don't understand.
They're not going to kill the golden goose,
and that's what makes no sense.
One of the golden gooses,
but. Speaking of crazy women, it's time to talk about the part 2 story of Wendy Williams.
So
now, go ahead.
Enlighten me. Now, I'm not as well versed in daytime talk shows as you are.
Well, I don't watch them. I just follow the news, and I know who these people are. But
what exactly is it that Kevin Hunter is suing them for?
So,
by the way, it's termination, not terminal.
Oh, God. All right. You got to filibuster while I fix it.
You got to, but again, we have...
There we go. Got it.
Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, tell me. So what is he suing them for? Wrongful termination, but because of what?
It's wrongful termination. What I was starting to say was, ex-husband, first of all. So you knew there was going to be bad blood to begin with.
Yep.
And apparently wrongful termination just for firing off the spot. So Wendy Williams' ex-husband Kevin Hunter is taking her namesake talk show's production company to court. In court documents obtained by People, I'm assuming that's People magazine, Hunter is suing DeMar Mercury for wrongfully terminating him for his long-time role as executive producer of the Wendy Williams show. The complaint claimed he was fired on the basis of marital status.
Because he wasn't married to Wendy anymore?
Apparently. So
okay, there must be something else to the story that we're not seeing, because they wouldn't have given him the old heave ho if she wasn't involved anymore. But what exactly do you think? What exactly role were you filling as a member of the talk show, other than you were married to Wendy Williams, now you're not anymore?
Well, apparently he was the executive producer.
executive producer can mean so many things. It can mean you're either it can mean you're intimately involved in the production of the show from start to finish, especially the behind the scenes stuff, or they give you an executive producer credit just because somebody owes you something.
Well, this was a unique situation because, like we said, they were married, and that changes everything and that's why they say you shouldn't be in a relationship with your coworkers if you can avoid it, because it leads to situations where if something goes wrong, I can think of a certain somebody who ran for mayor, wink, wink, who's been married 8 times, and he was co-hosts with some of those people, and it kind of affected a certain radio person's career because all I'll say is it has to do with a guardian and an angel. I think you can figure it out from there.
What did Casey Kasem ever do to you?
What?
What did Casey Kasem ever do to you?
It's not him, by the way. But
that's
weird
right. I'm Casey Kasem, and I'd like you to know that I don't shit where I eat.
But I look at this as a case of you don't like me anymore, and we broke up. You're fired.
We don't need you anymore, so therefore get the fuck out.
You're fired from family, you're fired from life, and you're fired from work.
So, are we thinking that there is a moocher, a mooching involved here?
Well, one defense I will give. He worked for the show from 2007 until now. That's a long time. Hunter claims his employment status changed days after Williams filed for a divorce in 2019.
Okay,
and we're just talking about this now.
So the statute of limitations is there a statute of limitation for cases like this?
I don't know. There's a weird line you have to toe when it comes to firing somebody, especially if you had a family or a relationship with somebody. Yep. Also, that's like if you say someone could live in your house and you can't technically throw them out. You actually have to go get an injunction if they're living in your house for a certain period of time. And
how do you know that?
No.
I hope that's not from personal experience that you know that.
It's not. It's from like watching Cops or whatever. That where they're like they call the cops, get out of my house. Well, no, I'm not leaving. And like because they didn't pay rent for a few months. And
I thought you were gonna go somewhere else with that. I thought it was it's from watching Cops and on TV too.
But yeah, so it's a weird situation. 1, because of the divorce. 2, because he was executive producer, or a executive producer, as I should put it.
A executive producer. Again, that title could be it could be a vestigial title. It could be about as useless as the Queen of England.
Now, I have to say one thing. Kevin Hunter.
Purely ceremonial.
I was going to say Kevin Hunter is the biggest moron in the entire world, because the reason they filed for divorce is because he fathered a child with a mistress.
I figured there have had to been there would have had to been something there.
So there's a quote here. I'm guessing this is from the lawyer. The termination of the plaintiff was based strictly upon plaintiff's marital status and his impending divorce of the show's host, ignoring all of the contributions that the plaintiff made to make the show a success. I'm sorry, but who's?
I'm sorry, but are
is
you
your name on the show?
Or was that entirely predicated upon whether or not you were married to Wendy Williams? Because it really seems to me like you screwed up.
But wait a minute,
like it's a you problem, not a them problem.
But wait a minute, is this the Kevin Hunter show or is this the Wendy Williams show?
And first of all, do they even know who Kevin Hunter is? Is America clamoring for the Kevin Hunter show?
No,
exactly.
not really.
Exactly.
And apparently, he wants in on the new show, Sherry Shepherd, also, because it's the same production company that's taking over the show.
Mooch. Oh, God.
It's amazing. First, it started with Nick Cannon and his drama. Now it's Wendy Williams. And by the way, I think the Nick Cannon talk show is produced by this same company also.
Yep, unfortunately.
But it is what it is. So we're going to go from entertainment drama to sports drama. So
now we don't really get a chance to talk about. We haven't really had a chance to talk about baseball. And for those of you who don't know, the reason why that is because baseball is locked out and might not even have a season.
Now,
So
wait.
Opportunities to speak about baseball when we can.
Partial disclaimer here. We usually don't talk sports here. I'm going to make that disclaimer again. On this show, we don't talk sports usually. But this has become public interest.
Because Derek Jeter is, again, no longer employed by... He was a baseball player, but now is I guess you could call him an entrepreneur now, right?
Well, he was a 4% owner in the Marlins.
Yeah, and he was the CEO. He ran the Marlins for the past 4 years almost.
2017, yeah. He basically bought in with, I think the guy's name is Bruce Sherman.
Bruce Sherman.
He was technically the head of the group, the ownership group.
And he recently stepped aside. Now, we'll have more to say about that on Empty the Bench this week.
Oh, we're going to have a lot to get into with baseball this week, so make sure you tune in for that.
Yes, we will. What happens now is Derek Jeter is technically a free agent again. So,
by the way, let's clarify one thing. The man is not poor by any means. So
by no stretch of the imagination.
And technically,
that man has not been poor for the last 30 years.
And let's point something else out. Every story is saying he's out of the job. Out of the job means you were fired. Okay, let's point that out very quickly. He was not fired.
Yes, the normal plebeian out of a job means you're living paycheck to paycheck. Derek Jeter is not living paycheck to paycheck.
Derek Jeter could go spend $1 million tomorrow and still be rich.
He could wipe his ass with $1 million and still have enough to have 8 Maseratis in his garage.
Let's put it this way: he's not an MLB, a true MLB owner from the money sense. But let's just say he's not running to go get what do they call those?
He's not clipping coupons in the Sunday paper.
Or he's not going and getting what's that check you get when you're older? I'm forgetting all of a sudden.
Social Security.
He's not going and getting Social Security checks anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
So or unemployment checks either. So you have to understand something. ESPN reportedly is willing to pay Derek Jeter to be an analyst on Baseball Tonight.
Either that or part of the Sunday game.
Or part of the Sunday game. Now that would be a big get. I'm not going to lie. It would be a big get, and it would basically be a fly trap for people like me. That's because
we're both Derek Jeter fans. So
we're both Yankee fans. So
right.
any former Yankee shows up in the booth, I'm there.
Well, that's the interesting point that a lot of people think of Yankees in the booth, like Troy Aikman and the Cowboys being in the booth. Like they get offended by it.
The thing is, I'm not a Cowboys fan, so that really doesn't mean anything to me.
No. I'm just saying people get offended when they put the big market.
Yeah, they get offended when they put the Cowboys.
Oh my God! You knew they were going to pick a Cowboy. You knew they were going to pick a Yankee. I mean, David Cohn's in the booth whenever it starts. Is going to be in the booth calling Sunday Night Baseball with Carl Ravitch.
You just said, which leads to my next point. If it happens. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big if about whether we're actually going to have baseball this season at all. So ESPN might be negotiating with nobody for a game that doesn't exist.
I mean, as of this recording, they actually had a meeting already, again, but it was only with the negotiators from each side.
And they've had a gajillion meetings so far, and nothing's come of it. The only thing that's come of it is we've lost a month of the season.
Was it a month? Well, we lost the first 2 series officially so far.
We've lost the first 2 series. We're expected to lose
more.
A month.
Yeah. And
if not more.
To be quite honest, it's weird. Some people I've talked to about this, they don't know if Derek Jeter is really the outspoken loudmouth type.
That's exactly it, because that's the other thing, because Derek Jeter has always been... He played his cards infuriatingly close to the vest. He would never say anything untowards to anybody about on his team, even if somebody was messing up. He would always, I dealt with it in private, and if you were a journalist, he never gave you shit. He barely ever said boo to you. So
he was also a fan favorite. When you end up in the media,
he was also a fan favorite, so he got away with it.
No,
anybody else would be labeled a moody little shit.
But I'm saying if he ends up in a booth or at ESPN, that fan credibility is going to be gone. Just because people.
What makes you say that?
I'm talking about
it increases the credibility with guys like us.
Yes, but I'm saying like anyone like fans from over the years, because we grew up from the 90s being Yankee fans. So you're going to get people who are old-fashioned. Oh, my God, he crossed over into the media. He's going to be a media hack, media critic.
Which I guarantee you, if it's not a take that's formulating in Phil Mushnick's brain right now, it is. He's going to put keyboard hand to keyboard and cranking that one out.
Or keyboard warriors, as you said. But can you imagine if Jeter and A-Rod get paired up again in an awkward sense at being at ESPN? If that happens,
if only that I would want to see that happen. If only we could actually hear what they really feel about each other, because again, it's been a rumor forever that they hated each other.
And by the way,
even while they were still playing, they hated they were still playing together. The rumor mill was that they hated each other.
By the way, Aikman, who got $90 million to go from Fox to be now in the Monday Night Football booth, that's official now. We can say that. If Aikman is worth 90, what the hell would Jeter be worth?
Probably north of 100.
And they would probably get their money's worth out of that, too.
They would get their money's worth out of it. But again, if you don't have a season, what the hell are you paying $100 million for?
Well, first of all, no companies are doing anything with baseball until they know.
The prospective contract that he would sign would essentially be analogous to an IOU.
Well, no, he might become part of the coverage if they're doing all this baseball stuff. But I don't know. Do you see Derek really breaking down MLB lockout coverage? I don't.
No, I don't.
I think Derek would be good once the X's and O's of the game come out, I think.
Yeah, because that's what they would have him for.
Unfortunately,
you're talking about a man who has walked in both worlds. He's been a player and he's been part of a management team. So
that's why ESPN wants him so bad.
His opinion would be valued, and that's why they're bringing him in. But if you think that he'd be able, if you think that he'd tell you, he would willingly give you any kind of insight, you're dreaming, because he never says anything.
Well,
he would never say anything untoward.
He might be willing if the money was right. That's the problem. Some fans are going to kill him.
Can you get him to not clam up? Can you get him to actually say something?
No, but I'm saying the fans will kill him if he goes into media and just becomes the guy that everybody hopes he wouldn't have never become.
You mean the guy carrying water for the owners?
Right. Like, and I'm saying if he goes to this game,
it would disappoint me too. It would disappoint me, to be honest.
If he takes all that money, he's expected to open up on everybody.
And you got to have an opinion. You can't just demur.
By the way, I could see him getting destroyed by Stephen A. on First Take.
I mean, that would kind of... I would feel bad if that happened, because God knows how much Stephen A. is a fan.
And by the way, since we're talking about ESPN, have you noticed that, they officially signed Christopher Mad Dog Russo, to be the host for First Take on Wednesdays now every week? It's
get out your earplugs, folks. It's going to be a lot louder.
It's like two people screaming at into a wall or into a mirror. Like, don't get me wrong, ESPN proved it because their ratings went through the roof. But the problem is, whenever they get something they like, they milk the shit out of it.
Again, this is how the 4-letter word network operates.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a Mad Dog fan. I interned for Sirius for the Mad Dog channel. I loved doing that stuff.
However, he would not. I mean, him being able to do what First Take requires of him, I don't know if he'd be capable of that.
Let's put it this way: Jeter's not selling his soul. Jeter's not selling his soul for. Yeah. Stephen A. sells his soul on a daily basis.
That's the long and short of it. He's not going to tell you what he wants. Yes, his opinion would be very valued if he were willing to give it.
Right. And I could see him going to like ESPN and maybe doing digital platforms, maybe doing a podcast, maybe. I mean, he already has that website. What is that? The Players Tribune?
He doesn't own it anymore.
He doesn't?
No.
Where did he sell it to?
What you call it has it?
Was it one of the content farm sites?
No. Who bought the player? I can't remember who bought the player.
I mean, I can look it up, but
he founded the Players Tribune.
Oh, you're right. I thought that. Let me see who owns the Players Tribune. Oh, it said it's created by Derek Jeter. It doesn't say there's any other owner. Oh, it was acquired by Minute Media, which I've never heard of, to be quite honest. In 2018.
I've heard of them. I actually applied to jobs there, but yeah. the less I say about it, the better off it'll be.
I heard they're a weird company to begin with, but
yep.
Long story short, would ESPN get better with their baseball coverage with Derek? Yes, but if they're expecting like hot takes and for him to like clown on A-Rod or like do any of that stuff, get in line because it's not happening.
They're not going to get it.
So it is what it is.
Yep.
And I'll ask you, if you had to put a percentage on it, ESPN hiring Derek Jeter, percentage from you is what?
40% now that the season is up in the air.
I would say that's about right. I'd probably go a little bit higher, maybe 45%, because I think ESPN's going to be desperate to get a name in there for their baseball coverage. So it's somewhere between 40 and 50%, I think, somewhere in there. But speaking of burying up or unburying the dead bodies, Kanye West. According to Kanye West, I'm burying Pete Davidson alive. Now, last time I checked, isn't that some kind of death threat?
I mean, if he wasn't a rapper, that would technically be construed as a death threat, because you got to feel bad for Pete Davidson and all this stuff. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of his, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, he's like, what did I do?
What did I do to deserve this?
Yeah, because it's like, look, we've said before on this show, multiple times, of course, multiple times, in fact, I should say, that Kanye West needs help. It's pretty obvious that man doesn't need another girlfriend. He needs a shrink.
Well, let me clarify the whole story. He needs
to get mental health.
So Kanye West appears dead set, haha, TMZ, on burying Pete Davidson, or at least the cartoon version. He just imagined the burial of his ex-wife's boyfriend in a music video for a song where he rips the SNL star. I can't call him Ye. Kanye just dropped the music video Wednesday for his song Easy, E-A-Z-Y. Kanye needs spelling lessons. With The Game. The track features the verse, God saved me from the crash just so I can beat Pete Davidson's ass.
I hate to say it, Kanye, but dude, she dumped your ass for a reason. Get over it. Seriously. Enough with the performing art. Enough with the performance art bullshit. Please. Enough. Oh, God. Please get help. Please. This is the only man who... I swear to God, he's rich enough and delusional enough to think that his mental illness gives him superpowers.
Oh, God.
He does. He seems to think that his mental illness gives him superpowers.
I
think it makes him better than everyone else.
I don't mean to laugh.
He's putting people he cares about in danger.
I mean, I didn't mean to laugh at that, but that was definitely a funny line. But
it's not funny.
No.
It's not funny. It stopped being funny a long time ago.
No. I'm saying the line you said was pretty funny.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
But there's one thing I can do for this. Welcome to the circus. Go ahead.
Beyond the Bench takes a trip to the circus that is Kanye West, and it's the only circus on the Eastern Seaboard that no one wants to go to.
I mean, if we're not careful, we might have to go clean up the elephant depository area because of Kanye.
And here I thought that was just Kanye's last 3 albums. Oh!
Wow. Didn't see that one coming.
And again, I'm really too white to be opining on these things.
But yeah, this story just... Kim officially announced that she was single. She's been trying to get her status to single for a long time. And I'm not saying that to be facetious. Like, the judge was holding off on it for whatever reason.
Kim Kardashian.
Who did I say?
You didn't say anything.
Oh, Kim Kardashian, yes. Kim's been trying to get her status single, and the judge has not allowed it for whatever reason legally.
Because it's not just like flipping a button on Facebook.
Well, Kanye should know all about flipping buttons on social media.
And to think that man ran for president.
Oh, God.
That people who worked for that man tried to overturn the election. Oh, my God. You know what? If you had explained to somebody, let's say somebody was in a coma for about 18 months.
Right.
And they had no idea. And they just came to today. And you're trying to walk them through. And they ask, what's going on with Kanye West? And you had said, well, he tried to run for president. And he buddied up to Trump. But then on the night of the election, people who said they worked for him went to vote counting offices and tried to get the ballots changed. Kim divorced his ass, is now dating Pete Davidson, and now he's threatening to cut Pete Davidson's head off.
Well,
if you had said that to this comatose individual, they would look at you like, okay, put me back in the coma.
Well, I have one way to solve this.
Again, because mental illness does not give you superpowers. It does not mean that you are undeserving of love or care. It does mean, however, that you probably should get help.
But wait a minute.
You feel a hell of a lot better if you did.
There's some creepy images, like I see it on the story. The last few frames of the video, and I'm sure you see this, there was one frame that says everyone lived happily ever after, but the word happily is circled. And in the next screen, it says, except Skeet, you know who, but Skeet is crossed out. Skeet is supposed to be Pete. He couldn't use his real name.
You know what? When Eminem was doing this shit 20 years ago, it was a bit.
What was that? Him and Christina Aguilera, I think?
When he was doing his Slim Shady bit, it was a joke. This is I don't know what he'll do now.
I mean, Kanye is Kanye. He's basically making entertainment for himself, even though he's crazy.
Like I said, he doesn't need a girlfriend or another wife. What he needs is a therapist. Please get a therapist.
And please, I'm begging you, Kanye, please don't go on daytime talk television or late night and start like begging for Kim to come back to you.
Or
Please.
Show up at these NBA arenas wearing a gimp suit or a black mask that you can't actually see anything out of.
Or please don't pull the Taylor Swift thing that you did years ago where you completely just annihilated Taylor Swift during which award show was it?
That was the VMAs.
Where he just completely walked up on stage and completely annihilated her.
We should have known then that something was wrong.
Yeah, I have no answer for this. Kanye needs to be put away in a mental institution.
At the very least, please get help.
I mean, on freaking Valentine's Day, he showed up with like a Hummer full of roses.
Okay, like I said, I hate to use this term, but it's so apropos here. The man is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He is. He's lost it. He's lost it, and he needs help. So please, somebody help him.
And I don't blame his recent girlfriend for leaving him because he's on social media saying he still loves Kim.
Julia Fox.
Because he said he still loves Kim. Whatever. All right.
Like I said, you wouldn't have believed this shit if I told you 18 months ago.
All right. Enough Kanye. But by the way, speaking of daytime talk television, remember how we were talking about how Kelly Clarkson, how that show's doing well, but we don't understand how these musicians, like these big time names, are ending up with talk shows? Well, guess what?
You spoke too soon because now Jennifer Hudson's doing it.
So the Jennifer Hudson Show is coming to Fox stations in fall of 2022. Now, Kelly Clarkson had his personality. She was on The Voice as one of the coaches for quite a few years. She's got personality. Okay? It made sense.
So there's Jennifer Hudson, though.
I get it. But at the same time, why are we taking taking big time names and making them hosts?
Which I'm pretty sure, if I had a guess, it's the Fox. It's Fox seeing what the Fox. It's Fox seeing what the Kelly Clarkson Show is doing in ratings and said, you know what? Let's do that, because they do nothing if not imitate each other to death.
I mean, what's next? Are we going to give Eminem his own talk show to host?
Isn't that what D12 Radio was supposed to be on Sirius?
Wait, what'd you say?
Isn't that what D12 Radio was supposed to be on Sirius?
Well, they have a channel called Shade 45, which is actually licensed.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Which is licensed through Eminem, and there's a guy named
He has his own restaurant. He has his own restaurant now, so that has to count for something,
I guess. And he was also part of the halftime show.
Yes.
The problem is someone forgot to tell him not to kneel during the halftime show.
We're getting off topic though.
But
Jennifer Hudson has. I mean, she's got the talent. She's definitely got the ability to do it. The thing is, can you bring it all into an appealing package that everybody's going to like?
Right. And by the way, so this all goes back to Ellen, who's officially going off the air, retiring, even though that's full of shit.
Yeah.
She's
retiring.
Because she's reportedly abusive to her staff. Reportedly. Make sure I say that.
Reportedly. Again, the big A, allegedly.
Allegedly, reportedly, same difference. Yes. And now with Kelly Clarkson Show moving up a slot, I guarantee you this is going to be right up against Kelly Clarkson. I'm telling you. We don't know anything yet. But
again, if Fox wants their answer to it.
Right. But apparently, I was telling Nick this the other day. Apparently, it was cleared for 60 markets already. She hasn't even been a talk show host yet.
Again, it's clear that they're setting her up to be their person, their daytime person. So
but technically, Nick Cannon is cleared for Fox stations too.
Yeah.
So what? Are they now competing up against one another for that also?
I guess it's supposed to be like, hey, we can't have more than one black talk show host. Fight to the death.
But this goes back to what we said last week. Daytime talk shows are not what they once were. Now
they're not.
We're taking any celebrity, slapping their name on a show, and saying, we're going to make a lot of money. Like, why?
I really don't know.
And I understand why they're doing it partially, because they're taking syndicated programming and running it out there so that local stations don't have to pay extra for it. They're basically bartering for syndicated shows to put on their airwaves. So, same thing for radio. The business I just walked out of because I couldn't deal with political radio anymore. They are putting syndicated shows on the air, especially in the music side, because they're tracking national shows now and putting them on the air in like 300 markets for some genres. Because radio stations can't make money on local radio anymore. Same thing for TV. They can't make money on local TV. It's all syndicated shows, so they don't have to pay for it.
And if there was a way they could get away with never paying for it, they wouldn't.
If there was a way to make a profit, they wouldn't put syndicated shows on the air. But unfortunately, when you have shows like the Today Show or The View, and I don't know, pick your syndicated news show, David Muir for ABC News,
yeah, but that's news, though.
No, but I'm just making a point that everyone is airing the syndicated news show on their local affiliate, or at night they're airing Jimmy Kimmel or Fallon or Corden or take your pick, Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert, whatever. So to me, this is just getting lost in the file of talk shows.
We'll see what happens. The only thing we can do is watch and wait.
But by the way, you look at this. So like you said earlier, Jennifer Hudson, Sherry Shepherd. You see a trend here?
What, that they're hiring more black women?
I'm saying they're going back that direction again.
I mean, yeah, there was a time when daytime talk shows were they were white as snow for a while, and now it wouldn't kill you to get some more diversity.
You know who I miss? You know who I miss? Who's a really good black talk show host? Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio is very good. Yeah, he was.
They blew that one big time.
Oh, that's what happens when the network doesn't give a shit about Arsenio Hall, unfortunately.
So, all right, we'll move on from the mess that is daytime talk television to a Wheel of Fortune mishap.
So, Wheel of Fortune how shall I put it? Usually, when things like this happen, I think Wheel of Fortune is probably if you were to take a poll, it probably has the highest incidence of people yelling at the TV, other than maybe a sporting event. Because I guarantee you, anytime you get to solve the puzzle before they do, you shout at them, and if they don't get it right, you shout at them louder. So, for those of you who don't know, there was a recent taping of Wheel of Fortune where I think the clue was...
It was a saying. It was a common phrase, another feather in your cap.
Another feather in your cap. And most of the letters were filled in already.
It's a typical puzzle. Typical puzzle where they got the first two words and most... You and I could have gotten this.
Yes, and I am not smart, so there you go.
And by the way, like, people are going to yell at us and say, "Well, you..." And Pat Sajak, who's the host of Wheel of Fortune, obviously came out and said that to the defense of the contestants, saying they're on national TV, they're being watched by millions of people. It's nerve-wracking. Sometimes your brain just goes kaplooey, and you forget.
Sometimes you have a brain fart, and sometimes you have it on national TV. But they tried to solve the puzzle, and they didn't get it.
But it is a little weird that it took like 5 or 6 times when the puzzle is right there. And they were guessing letters that didn't even make sense.
And no one got it, by the way.
Well, no, someone had to get it eventually.
Someone had to get it, but it took a while for somebody to realize what happened. Now, Pat Sajak was on Twitter, and he said
he defended the contestants.
He defended them. He said, you know what? These things happen where you're under a lot of pressure when you're on Wheel of Fortune because it's going to be seen by millions of people. Sometimes these things happen, and I'm inclined to agree with him.
By the way,
as frustrating as it is to all of us, to the peanut gallery, I mean, put me there, put me on that stage. There is an 80% chance that I would forget what my name is and then pee my pants.
Duh.
Like on camera, I would forget my name and pee my pants.
Wheel of Fortune is probably one of the most prominent game shows that's been around in the history of game shows, and it's watched by millions of people every single night.
So you're going to tell me you wouldn't be freaking out?
I would. First of all, I don't like being on TV in general. I told you the story when I did a women's college basketball game, and CBS Sports Network happened to be there while we were doing the game, and I was nervous because we were sitting at the center of the scores table.
So imagine if the spotlight is on you, and you end up having to solve, even on the outset, what seems like a simple word problem. So I'm surprised that any of them were even able to, like I said, even remember where they were or who they were.
And also, you have the bright lights on you, and and it's probably 1,000,000 degrees in that studio also.
Plus, you've probably been taping a bunch of episodes back to back. So you've been there all day. You're probably hungry and tired and sweating.
I was going to say, we have someone on our podcast network that's been a contestant on Wheel of Fortune. And that's Kyle.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Kyle told me a story that even if you're on the late episode, like you're the 3rd or 4th episode, you still have to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning, I think he told me.
So you're tired, you're angry, and you're nervous. So all of these factors can go into, again, people would like to think, everybody would like to think, they'd go up there in front of the cameras and just have ice water in the veins, just be Joe Cool.
It's not that easy.
It's not like that.
It's not that easy.
Even if you've been on TV before, and you would have to be, pretty much in order to be, cold like that. You would either have to be dead or just comfortable with public nudity. That's the kind of level of disconnectedness you would need to have.
I mean, to go full circle, I guess you could say you'd have to be Britney Spears to do that type of unlike pressure.
Like, anybody want to buy a vowel?
Anyone want to buy a bowel?
God.
Oh shit! Oh wait, I mean, crap.
No, I'm sorry. It was actually shot. I'm sorry. SHOT.
Shot, not shit.
No. It wasn't go fuck yourself. It was go tuck yourself in.
And by the way, Pat Sajak has clowned contestants before,
and I give him all the credit in the world for not doing that.
But I've seen people screw up the puzzle with the whole thing up there before.
I mean, it's not like Jeopardy. It's not like Jeopardy where
no, actually, Jeopardy, you have to get the exact answer.
Yeah, you have to get the exact answer right. But now, again, I don't like. I keep saying it, but I don't blame these people.
Well, all right. So one more story. I saved the best for last. Nick, brace yourself, okay? Ron DeSantis scolds students in Florida at the University of Central Florida for wearing masks. Now, before you comment, Nick, I went and I looked through this story, and I said, this is an asshole that wants to run for president in 2024.
He wants to. He's not going to. He's not going to get to, I should say.
No, he wants to. He's just not going to get. Is it going to be like which side was it? The Democrats or the Republicans that had 1 million people at those debates where they had to do it in two shifts?
The Democrats.
It was the Democrats who had like 1 million people, including the CEO of Starbucks.
Including the CEO of Starbucks, Bill de Blasio, for some strange reason. I hate the fact that I know who Andrew Yang is because of this. And yeah, so he clearly has presidential aspirations, because if it's not Trump, it just gets worse from here on out.
Hey, Nick, I booked him for an interview.
And Trump is pretty goddamn bad.
Hey, Nick, I booked him as an interview for the podcast.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You know what? I would quit on the spot if that happened.
I'm kidding.
So did you actually? But you said you read the story. But did you see the clip that was?
Oh, of course. The clip is a viral sensation.
So he's going to give a speech, I think, at the University of Central Florida.
Yeah, UCF.
And he's got two kids standing behind him.
More.
Now, most of the people, you know, him included, and in his immediate vicinity, are not wearing masks. And we know that Mr. DeSantis has been vehemently he's vehemently pro-COVID, because I guess any minor inconvenience to him is basically an assault on his liberty.
No, he thinks wait a minute. He thinks the swamp monster is going to come after him.
He is the swamp monster in this situation. He is the swamp monster. He's the governor of Florida. He is part alligator at this point.
You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me in Scooby-Doo when they're getting chased by the villain, and then like they finally knock him down and they pull the mask off. That would be Ron DeSantis.
Yep. Exactly. But he's got these two kids behind him. He turns around, and they've got N95 masks on. He turns around and starts yelling at them, "Take those ridiculous things! You weren't brought here for this COVID theater," quote unquote.
It's right here. Here's the quote. "You do not have to wear those masks. I mean, please take them off. Honestly, it's not doing anything. We've got to stop with this COVID theater. So if you want to wear it, fine, but this is ridiculous." No, you know what's ridiculous? You know what's ridiculous? Mr. Governor DeSantis, that you're the governor of Florida. That's what's ridiculous.
The fact that they elected that moron when he shouldn't even have been elected dog catcher at this point is really it's a scathing indictment of our political system. It really is. Because, you know, COVID theater, first of all, who's oppressing you by wearing a mask, Ron? Because they want to protect themselves? Because God forbid you won't.
I mean, I have one way to solve this.
I hate you. Get the out of here.
Absolutely. And because they want to protect themselves, because clearly you fucking won't, you ghoul.
You know what's crazy though? Florida was one of the worst states for COVID issues. And he was fighting for no masks.
Which, again, because the man is a fucking ghoul. Because, again, he can't govern. So these bullshit culture war points are all he's got.
Wait a minute. You know what the worst part of that whole video is? Because you didn't fill the whole scene of this. The kids were essentially bullied, and some of them took the masks off.
Yeah, they did. And they were looking at him like, I feel bad for those poor kids. Because you put them on the spot, and they're looking at him like, seriously? Come on. I mean, they want to protect themselves because you fucking won't, and you. Oh God, I hate him so much. Oh God, you know what? And he's governor of a state I don't live in. That's how bad this is.
He's governor of a state where the average age is old. Like old, and you're telling people not to wear masks.
You know what? That's why I say all these anti-mask politicians they're basically pro-COVID. They want people to die. They really don't care.
Hey, America, this is a guy you want to become president of the United States?
Unfortunately, yeah, that is who they want.
Him and what's his name on the other side in California?
Gavin Newsom.
So can you imagine DeSantis versus Governor Newsom?
I don't want to. I don't want to imagine that.
I mean, like, I'm not going to make that joke. That might get us in trouble on social media. That would have been really bad. I was going to say go hide in a bunker like Ukraine, but anyway.
No. Don't do that.
I'm just saying that's what it feels like.
But still, the point remains that Ron DeSantis, saying that those things don't work. Really? How the fuck would you know? You won't get vaccinated.
Is he still not vaccinated?
Every single scientist has said, I can't believe I have to say this again, but every single fucking scientist has said masks reduce transmission, you fucking oaf.
I mean, I remember first time around when I voted in the elections in the whole Trump crazy world. I remember just saying, all right, I'll stomach whatever. Now I can't stomach it at all this time around. Like, I just can't. Like, and
it's been a long time.
I can't stomach any of this. If DeSantis becomes president, like, we're all gonna have to go hide. Like,
again, you really think that DeSantis can become president if Trump is still going to be on the ballot? They'll vote for him before they vote for Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, but now we have.
Why vote for great value Trump when you can get the real thing? That's what he is. He's store brand Trump. He's Trump. He. You know what? All he needs is a fat suit, a few extra wrinkles, and a bad wig, and he'd be a Trump impersonator. He is, because there literally is not a nickel's worth of difference between him and Trump. So, you know what? Why vote for him when you can get Trump?
Wait a minute. A fundraising group affiliated with DeSantis also released a line of merchandise, oh God, that takes aim at masks and White House medical advisor Anthony Fauci, such as a $12 Don't Fauci My Florida koozie.
And yeah, I heard about that, and the response to that is, "Don't DeSantis my grandparents."
Oh,
because it's obvious he wants you. It's obvious he wants you to die as quickly as possible from COVID.
All I could say is, I don't want DeSantis. I don't want Newsom. I don't want Governor Cuomo coming back out of the dead and becoming president.
I weep. If I couldn't laugh at this stuff, I would weep.
I mean, what's next? Is Rudy Giuliani going to run for president?
You had to say it.
My fellow Americans, this is Rudy Giuliani.
My fellow Americans, I've got evidence that I could be president of these United States. Sir, this is actually an IHOP. So, I don't mean to interrupt you, but could you please place your order and get the fuck out?
No, I'm too busy trying to investigate Hunter Biden for his investigations. Sorry, that's a little too personal, close to me.
We wouldn't get political. We promised we wouldn't get political. So now,
well, that's not really political. That's just from personal history and experience.
Yeah, I know.
But all right, I think that just about does it for Beyond the Bench episode 20, which I forgot to say up until now. This is episode 20. So 20 episodes in. What do you think so far, Nick?
I think we're doing really well. We've actually got a bunch of stuff coming to the Empty the Bench podcast network that we're not ready to announce yet, but we've got some great shows. So what you need to do is be able to follow us at ETB Network on Twitter, and you need to be able to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can follow me at Nick Writes Words on Twitter. You can follow him at N Morgasen Radio on Twitter as well. And make sure that you can like and follow our page at Facebook/Beyond the Bench 1. So
I think that just about does it. So for Nick Fodera, I'm Nick Morgasen. Hopefully you let all this politics wash over you, and hopefully we don't have to do all this political crap next week. And
hopefully not.
And I think we'll see you for episode 21 next week. Yeah. So I guess
good night, guys. See you back on the bench.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.